The spaceship crashed in the dense forest of Earth's wilderness, sending shockwaves through the trees and the animals that fled from the chaos. The alien girl lay unconscious on the ground, her small body barely visible under the smoke and debris that spread around her like a dark cloud. She had come from a distant world, far beyond the stars, where the Earthlings lived. Her name was Yara, a young alien whose people had traveled across galaxies, seeking peaceful relations with other species. However, the journey ended in disaster. A sudden attack from a rival alien race had destroyed their ship, and Yara was the only survivor. As the smoke cleared, she woke up to an unfamiliar world. Her body ached and her mind struggled to understand what had happened. She had no idea where she was or even if anyone was alive. As she tried to move, her eyes scanned the surroundings and she saw nothing but trees and distant mountains. She reached out for help, but no one came. Days passed, and the girl began to realize something terrifying. She was completely alone. Her communication device had been damaged beyond repair in the crash, and she couldn't call for help. Her alien physiology, far different from that of the humans, made it hard for her to find food or water. She needed shelter. She needed someone to help her, but the silence around her continued. Earth's people had heard about the crash. Some saw it as an opportunity, a chance to exploit the unknown technology that might have come with the alien ship. Others, frightened by the thought of an alien invasion, began to call for the girl to be captured, studied, or destroyed. The news spread like wildfire, with opinions divided across the planet. Most of humanity turned their backs on the helpless girl, believing she was a threat. The alien's strange appearance and unfamiliar ways caused fear in many. She wasn't human, and to many, that was enough reason to abandon her. She's just a monster, some said. She's better off left alone. But then, there were the so-called killer humans. A group of outcasts, living on the fringes of society, heard the rumors. These humans were often labeled as dangerous, misunderstood, or even violent. They had been abandoned by the world, cast out from society for their past mistakes and their rebellious nature. Yet, when they heard about Yara, their hearts softened. Among them was a man named Jacob. He had once been a soldier skilled in combat, but now he lived a quiet life on the outskirts of a small village, far from the city's chaos. Jacob had heard the reports about the alien girl, but unlike others, he didn't see her as a threat. He saw someone in need of help. His instincts, honed from years of service, told him that this girl was not the enemy. "It's not about what she is," he said to his friends one evening. "It's about who we are." His words stirred something in the hearts of the group. The others agreed. Despite their rough edges and dangerous reputations, they were the ones society feared the most. But in that moment, they decided to do what the rest of humanity could not: save the alien girl. Jacob and his team set out into the wilderness, their eyes scanning the trees, hoping to find her before anyone else did. The fear of being labeled traitors to their own kind didn't stop them. The group consisted of people who had long ago been judged for their mistakes, but they understood what it meant to be abandoned. They could not abandon her too. Days later, they found her, starving, weak, and barely able to stand. Yara was hiding in a cave, trying to protect herself from the elements, her skin pale and her eyes hollow. Jacob approached her slowly, speaking softly. "We're not here to hurt you," he said gently, extending a hand to her. Yara flinched at first, instinctively backing away from the strange humans who had appeared out of nowhere. She had no reason to trust them. Her people had been attacked by others like them after all. But as she looked into their eyes, she saw something different. These humans were not like the others. They weren't afraid of her. They weren't there to take advantage of her. They had come to help. Over the next few days, Jacob and his group did everything they could to care for Yara. They built a small shelter and brought her food and water. Slowly, the girl began to trust them, learning that not all humans were the same. Some of them, the so-called killers, were the ones who would protect her, even if the rest of their kind would leave her to die. Despite their differences, despite the fear that ran deep in Yara's alien heart, she began to feel a sense of kinship with these humans. They didn't see her as a monster. They saw her as someone in need, and to them, that was enough reason to fight for her survival. Jacob sat by the fire one evening, gazing up at the stars. He knew that the world would never understand their decision. They would always be seen as the outcasts, the ones who didn't fit into society's neat little boxes. But for him, that didn't matter. The alien girl, the one everyone had abandoned, was now safe, and that was all that mattered. "She's not so different from us," Jacob muttered to himself, his voice carrying into the night. "We all need someone to stand by us when the world turns its back." As Yara looked up at the stars, she knew that her journey had not ended with the crash. It had brought her to a place where she had found something more important than survival. She had found compassion, even in the most unlikely of beings. The so-called killer humans had shown her that, in the end, it was humanity's strength, not their violence, that made them truly powerful.